What type of mining job do you want? Welcome to Australian Mining for New Starters, and today we're going to have a chat about the different types of mining jobs on site. So whether you want to work in the mill, or whether you want to be a miner, or whether you want to work in maintenance, we're going to discuss all that, and we're going to talk about whether you want to do shutdown work or construction work, and we're also going to have a chat about whether you want to get a full-time job or whether you want to get a casual job, and how it all relates to each other. So to start with, we're going to talk about jobs on the mill. So jobs on the mill can be a great way to go if you don't want to actually work in the mine underground or in the pit. So the mill workers work on the processing plant on the surface. Most mines that produce metals like gold or silver or zinc or nickel or copper or whatever need a processing plant to refine it once they get the ore out of the ground. And so most mill workers make between 100 and 150,000, and it can be a good option for people that are concerned about working in the actual mining side of things or going underground. They don't make quite as much money as the miners make, but it's still very good money, and like anything else, the more experience you get, the more money that you get. Mill supervisors can make quite a lot of money, especially if they know what they're doing. So where do you find the jobs? Well, if you go over to Seek and type mill operator in, there's a few come up, like this one here with Peak Gold, but I normally find most of them when I just type underground in, and they're scattered throughout the underground jobs. One of the reasons for that is because most of the mill jobs are directly employed by the company that owns the mine. So a good tip is to have a look at all the companies' websites that own mines, and that's when you'll find a lot of the mill jobs. You can also hunt it backwards. So most underground mines have a mill attached, so if you find out who owns the underground mine, then you can find out who's doing the hiring for the mill work. Next, I want to talk about the mining jobs. So these are the jobs where people go to work and they blow stuff up and they put it in the back of a truck and haul it up to the mill so the mill can process it. So jobs like these $1,500 a day jumbo operating jobs in the hard rock underground mine, they're the mining jobs. Now, miners often refer to themselves as operators, and the jobs vary greatly. If you want to have a go at getting a job on the surface driving a truck, then the best thing to do is to get your HR license and probably head to one of the big mining towns. There's not that many companies that are taking new starters for fly in, fly out. There's a lot of experienced people coming out of the iron ore sector as they replace more and more of their truck drivers with autonomous trucks, and they're finding a home in the pits around the country. There are still surface jobs to be had in the pits, but you've got to be a bit more proactive about going and getting them. The other mining jobs, of course, is what we specialise in and our sponsor specialises in, which is the underground jobs. So if you come over to Seek and type underground in, you'll see all the different jobs come up. So the nipper and the service crew and dump truck, lots and lots of jobs. And if you come over to the sponsors training, you can see the pay rates and the rosters. So you've got the entry level is nipper, service crew, diamond driller, offsider and truck operator. Service crew for some companies is entry level, for other companies it isn't, just depends on the company. You start on between 80 and 110,000. If you're working week on, week off, it's probably about 80,000. If you're working a 2-in-1 roster, it's probably about 110,000, and it goes up from there. So the thing to remember about Hard Rock Underground at the moment is that everybody that knows anything about it that wants a job's got one, and they're well short. If you want to have a go at getting one of these Hard Rock Underground jobs, then if you come over to the sponsors training, you can look at DIY. It's a good package to do it yourself. One of the guys just got a job in WA last week that did it. He did it a couple of months ago, and it teaches you everything that the employer wants a new starter to hard rock underground mining to know. So it gives you the ability to answer the mining questions in the interview. So there's a do-it-yourself special for $450, or if you want some help from a shift boss to try and get in, they've got their work-ready one that they do for $8.99. So if that's the way to go, if you want to try and have a crack at getting into an hard rock underground job. Maintenance work on site is normally staffed by fitters, and they do your trades, so your heavy diesel mechanics, your sparkies, all that sort of stuff. It's not just the mine site that has fitters, the mill also has fitters. They look after the powerhouse normally and all that sort of stuff that happens on the surface that runs everything, gives everybody the juice that they need to make it all go. So there's lots of jobs on the surface that do all that sort of stuff. And if you're looking for a maintenance job, then you should be having a look, go through the underground ones, but you're looking for the fitter jobs. Everybody in mining calls their maintenance people fitters or sparkies, depending on what you're doing, obviously. But yeah, that's what they're looking for. So you're looking for the fitter jobs, and they pay between $60 and $70 an hour at the moment, which is really good money, and the money's only going up. If you haven't got any mining experience, and you want a fitter job, then I would suggest that you do or have a look at doing the basic mine site operation course that the sponsor has. That gives you a good rundown of what you need to know about how the rules work and all that sort of stuff on site. And I'm talking about the major rules that apply not only in the mine site but also in the workshop and on the mill. It's all consistent. It's enforced all throughout the mine site. So stuff like safety meetings and all that sort of stuff, and hazard environments and duties of miners, of employees and employers. It's all that stuff's covered in here, and all that's good to know before you start a maintenance job on site. But there's lots of work out there for people that want to have a go at getting a maintenance job. And the maintenance jobs on site, when you work for a hard rock company or a surface drilling company, are mostly full-time. They're not like the shutdown work, which is also maintenance, that is temporary work. I'm going to talk a bit more about shutdown work in the next section. This brings me on to shutdown and construction work. A lot of people aren't going to like what I'm about to say, but it's not a criticism of anything or anybody. It's just what's going on, unfortunately. The problem with trying to get into mining through shutdown work or construction work is it doesn't really teach you anything about the actual mining jobs that miners do on mine sites. Shutdown work is maintenance work, or it's construction work. They're fixing something or they're building something. They're not actually doing any mining. Now, the unfortunate problem is that between 2005 and 2017, we had some of the biggest infrastructure projects in the world going on here in Australia, and it required a huge workforce of almost 50,000 people in construction working on those sites. Now, everything that you need to work on a construction site, on a mine site, is the same thing that you need to do to work shutdown work. And that's the flow-on effect to what's happened with shutdown work at the moment. 2 years ago, shutdown people were getting $70 an hour. Now you see a lot of the jobs are between $40 and $50 an hour. It's gone down because there's so many people, and they've got so many people to choose from. I saw a job ad out the other day on Facebook. They were looking for people for shutdown work for $35 an hour. It's not, it is what it is, and that's what happens every time there's an oversupply of people. Same thing's happening in iron ore at the moment. The more they automate the trucks, the less truck drivers they need, the less they need to pay or keep putting the pay up. So the pay's really been capped in iron ore at around $150,000, whereas with hard rock underground mining and surface mining at the moment in pits, where they still need people to drive the trucks, those jobs and that pay is only going up at the moment because they don't have enough people to fill the jobs. Shutdown, iron ore, coal, they've all got an oversupply of people, unfortunately. I know that's not going to be popular with some people because they've invested a lot of time and money into trying to get a job in a specific area like coal and iron ore, but unfortunately it is what it is. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about coal in the next section. Again, with coal, this isn't going to be popular, but it's what's going on at the moment, unfortunately. And it's not like it just happens in one area of the industry. I can remember in 1998 up in Telfer when they shut the open pits down. They kept the underground going, but they shut the open pit and they retrenched all the Newcrest staff. I went up to the airport to pick up a paper because you used to be able to get a West Australian off the plane, and the crew that was flying in, it was only the underground part of the crew. There wasn't the surface part of the crew. and there were 30 security guards. And they came out, they made everybody pack up their rooms, and over the next 2 days they flew everybody out and made everybody, including the senior management team that was responsible for the mine, they made them all redundant. And that was just one of the things. The gold price went down a little bit, and the senior management made a couple of big errors in the way they were doing stuff, and Newcrest just came in and cleaned house. We were lucky in the underground side of things because they kept the contractor on, and a couple of the junior engineers that were Newcrest, they got a big promotion, and we sort of kept going for the next 6 months, and then about 6 months after that they started the pit up again with a contractor. So stuff like that happens all the time. What's going on in coal at the moment is that Glencore looks like they're going to rationalise their coal mines across the country, and to start with they are standing everybody down for a couple of weeks this month. And unfortunately, when mining companies do stuff like this, the writing's sort of on the wall. I can guarantee you that unfortunately some of the mines that have had a temporary closure for 2 weeks, there'll be people in that 2-week period that'll get letters saying don't come back. There'll be people that they keep, but there'll be a whole heap of people that they'll get rid of at the same time, unfortunately. That's just the way mining works, and that's the way the people that run mining operate. Again, that's not going to be a popular thing to say, but it's the way it works, unfortunately. So lastly, we're going to talk about the full-time versus part-time jobs on mine sites. Full-time jobs or part-time jobs. So most of or the majority of your hard rock underground and your jobs in the pits, working for the big companies, are all full-time work. Unfortunately, I can't say the same thing about coal and iron ore. In the last sort of 4 to 5 years, coal and iron ore have gone down this path where they've overused labour hire companies, and again, they've done that to sort of suppress the wages. So there are people over here that have worked on iron ore mines for Rio that have been on labour hire for 3 or 4 years now, and the same thing's happening in the coal mines. I don't know why they're doing it like that, because the mine regs say that the owner of the mine still has the same responsibility, whether you're the contractor, whoever owns the mine's still responsible for everybody. So it's not from that perspective, so it's just left with the suppressing of the wages and being able to get rid of people easily, which is something that I don't agree with. It's not something that they do in hard rock underground. It's all full-time work, or they want to switch people over to full-time as soon as they can because they want to nail their workforce down. It's the same in the pits as well around the country and on the mills. Everybody wants to nail down their full-time workforce because there's not a lot of experience going around. The other area that uses temporary workers is shutdown work. So I hope that information about the different types of mining jobs is helpful, and if you want to have a crack at getting into mining, there's 2 bits of advice that I like to give people. One is to make sure that you know as much about the job that you're getting into before you get there. So the sponsors training is really good for that, to get you up to speed, because the more you know before you go, the better the chance you have of making it. And the other bit of advice that I've got for the new starters is go where the employers are having to hire new starters. And at the moment, that's in exploration. So they're looking for offsiders to work on the surface. You'll need a HR license for that. And they're also looking for bucket loads of people in hard rock underground. Nippers, truck drivers, offsiders. There are jobs everywhere for people that know how the mine works. And that's really the secret to it. If you can show the employer that you've invested in yourself and you know how their mine works, then that goes a long way to getting you the job. You still have to meet their other requirements, of course, but as long as you can show them that you know and understand what's going to be expected of you on site, most people normally get a good result. So I hope that information helps, and if you've got any more questions that you'd like answered, please just send them through to the channel, and if you could like and subscribe and share the video around. Thanks.